The given data represents a frequency distribution of the F-scale intensifies of recent tornadoes. Use the frequency distribution to construct a frequency polygon, and then answer the question, does the graph suggest that the distribution is skewed, and if so, how? Okay, so I want you to take a look at the data here. It says tornado F-scale goes from 0 all the way to 4. The frequency goes from 27 down to 1 here. Now I want you to notice down, if you look at each one of these graphs for your options, you can see that the Y, or the vertical scale, goes from 0 to 30, okay, which is the frequency, and the horizontal scale is called the F scale, and if you notice it goes from -1 to 5. It's the same one for each of these. So there's an additional point at -1 that's not in this data, but we're going to put it in there anyway, so that when we graph it, then we can make sure it matches our graphs. So let's go ahead and then open this up into StatCrunch, and let's make sure that our columns are titled, so you can see it's titled as the tornado F scale and then the frequency. Okay, now you see that we already have these points that are already in there. So one way of doing this is, if you come up here and then select the row and right click, and it says insert one above, we can do that. Because what we want to do is we want to insert this -1 point as well, so it matches what our graph looks like. So let's go ahead and put in -1 for the X coordinate, and the Y coordinate, or the frequency, is going to be 0 because we do not have one for that. Okay, so now we want to go ahead and graph this. So we're going to select graph, and then we're going to go all the way down to where it says scatter plot. Okay, so now the X variable is going to represent the tornado F scale, and the Y variable is going to be the counts, which is the frequency. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we're going to come down here where it says display. We want to make sure that points and lines are selected by using the control button, and then we're going to scroll down a little bit below, and then what we're going to do is we're going to label the graph. So the X-axis label is the F scale, and the Y-axis is the frequency, so we can type that in. And then what we're going to do is we're going to select compute. Okay, and so now we want to match the particular values of our X and Y axis. So in order to do that, we can go ahead and click here, and then for the X axis, we want it to go from -1 to 5. So we'll select OK. So now it's going to go a little further there. Okay, so if you notice, it looks like there's an additional point at 5 as well. So it doesn't match there. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to come back here and then add another point. And that point is going to be 5 and then 0, just like we did for the previous one. So now let's come back, select graph, scroll all the way to scatter plot, and then repeat the same steps. The X variable is the tornado F scale. The Y variable is the frequency. We're going to scroll down here to make sure points and lines are selected by hitting the control button. And then again over here we're going to make sure that we label, so we have F scale, and then the Y-axis is the frequency. And now let's go ahead and compute. And so now you can see that it's now going to include those 2 points at the end, okay, to give us a picture of what that frequency polygon is going to look like. And so now we have our scale. Now if you notice, this goes above. If you wanted to, you can come in here and select Y-axis, and then you can make the minimum to be 0 and then the maximum to be 30, and then therefore now it's going to match the entire graph of our choices the way we want them to. So if we take a look at the first option A, it looks like it doesn't match because it goes above the 25. Okay, if we look at B, you can see it starts low and then increases, so it's not B. And if we look at C, it looks like it's starting low and then high over here. So it looks like it matches our choice for D. So let's go ahead and select that choice, and there is our answer. Okay, so now the question is, does the graph suggest that the distribution is skewed, and if so, how? Well, if you notice on the left side, it increases pretty fast, and then what happens is it skews to the right. So therefore, we would say that the distribution appears to be skewed to the right, or positively skewed. So we're going to go ahead and select that option, and then there is our result.